What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, and we're back to start going through some solo Morrissey. Indeed, this is a bit overdue. Big shout out to friend and champion of the channel, Seb, who actually shared this a couple months back, but I get so many emails, it just took me a while to catch up on everything, and I only realized it was there recently. But again, I've been keen to hear more after we ended the Smiths journey. Obviously, I've been going through electronic, finishing up all the tracks from the first album period, not only the first album as it was originally released, but now some tracks that have been included on later versions. But it'll be nice to get the other side to the split, if you will. I will say the opening album from Morrissey, solo, 1988 Viva Hate, which feels very on brand. It feels like a natural outgrowth of the themes and the attitude of the songwriting of, say, the last album and a half. I mean, the Smiths overall perhaps, but as a number of people pointed out, especially as we were going through the final album, it felt like the songs were almost pushing to see how far the sardonic humor and how far the dark and wicked attitude could go on these songs. So the fact that that was sort of the emotional and psychological atmosphere of the final couple albums of the Smiths, it feels very, again, on brand that the first solo Morrissey album is called Viva Hate. So I'm sure it'll be a very nuanced thing as we go through the different songs, and perhaps that sentiment that is suggested by Viva Hate will not be manifest in every tune. But again, it made me laugh when I saw that was the name of his first solo album. So the first track is called Alsatian Cousin. I believe, I'm not sure if it's like Alsace, I think it's pronounced differently in French and German, which I think is sort of the point, in that it's a geographical and historical region. I think it's on one of the banks of the Rhine, and ultimately it's gone back and forth between Germanic and French peoples for centuries, millennia perhaps. So yeah, I think currently, I'm forgetting if it's actually under French jurisdiction now, but ultimately, again, it's a region that has French and German history, and has changed, in political control, and I imagine cousin in that context could relate into the way that, the people who live in this area have this shared history, and it's multicultural, and it's about different groups of people and so on, but it's ultimately swung hard one direction, hard another direction. So maybe cousins in that respect is cousins who are around each other a lot, or people who are around each other a lot and necessarily live and work together, but are sort of on other sides of these cultural or social fences. Bottom line, it could be anything. Ultimately, it could just be a phrase that is used as part of this narrative that is ultimately unrelated to the actual geographical region. But yeah, it makes me wonder whether the history of the area might be embedded in that phrase. Now, fair to say, if it is actually used as a phrase, like an idiom, I'm not familiar with it. But again, I've heard the descriptor or adjective Alsatian before, and I think that's what it refers to. So if all that is complete nonsense, I apologize, but let's listen to the tune. This is Morrissey, Alsatian Cousin. It's the first track on his 1988 album, Viva Hate. like a banshee. Desolate sonic graveyard. Like the syncopation. Wow, what a haunting opener. That was more wicked sonically than I expected. Now, we did get some of that vintage Morrissey note bending, melodic chameleon sort of singing, which I really have missed. Like the moment he did the first one of those, like, ah man, it's been a while since the Smiths reaction. So, and again, I mentioned before, if there's any way to go back and go through some of the Smiths tunes that I haven't already, I'll definitely do that. But it was just like, I realized it had been a while since we got to the end of the last album. And so I was searching through emails and again found the old email from Seb. It's like, oh man, it was from like early May or something to that effect. So yeah, it's cool to go through this now. But yeah, it had a wicked bent to it. Not because that's some of the Smith songs that I was thinking of in terms of his songwriting. I'm thinking of that dynamic where it's very dark material, especially when you sort of read between the lines in some of the songs. But the sonics are often light and bubbly, and there's that wicked contrast. This felt, like I said, like a sonic graveyard with the guitar banshee and a very desolate feel. But it did also have a frenetic and energetic percussion scheme. So like there were some different flavors in this one, but it was heavier and more wicked than I expected sonically. Lyrically, I did not catch enough to get a solid picture of what it's about. It sounded a bit more personal, like a more individual narrative. So again, maybe Alsatian Cousin could be used as a metaphor or an analogy in that context. But I didn't pick up enough to know exactly what's happening. So I look forward to hearing what people have to say. Again, I'm excited to get back into and hear that voice again, but to get into his solo material. So yeah, looking forward to it. Once again, big shout out to Seb. Let me know what you think. I will see you next time. Peace.